So, about 6 weeks ago, I had another keyboard player that reached out to me from another continent. And this person is a very accomplished player, from what I can tell. And they had a specific question about how to use their Motif XF keyboard, like the one behind me, that I've done a lot of performances with and shown you a lot of videos with as well. So, we're going to dive into one particular thing about the Motif XF that I've never taught. And it's really not that hard, but if you don't really do this very often, it can come off a little cumbersome and confusing. So today we're going to talk about how to put a sample onto your Motif XF keyboard. Welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're helping you be the performer that you're meant to be. I'm Danny Robertson. Thanks as always for joining me. We're going to get into it today. We're going to get a little bit technical and we're going to walk into how we would put a sample on our Motif XF keyboard. I do want to point out that right now we are interested in learning what you need to know about playing music, performing on stage, how to speak to audiences, things like that. I want to know what we can help you learn. So if you can, please do me a favor and click the link that's below. We have a performer survey that asks you a few questions about your situation as a performer and what you'd like to learn how to do better. We can help you with that, but I need to know what you want to learn, okay? So click the link below, fill out that performer survey for me, okay? It's about 10 questions. It'll take you 2 minutes. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, so now let's get into it. As I mentioned, I was reached out to by another piano player from across the Atlantic Ocean in Italy, a gentleman named Francesco, who actually plays some really big shows. He plays the Motif keyboards, the XF versions, just like I used to, and he plays with people like Andrea Bocelli and Matteo Bocelli and Catherine McPhee, some names that you might know, and he does really pretty neat little shows, and he's a really accomplished player. But the thing that he's never tried to do was sample on his Motif XF. So Francesco reached out and asked if I could shoot a short video about this. And while it took me a while, I'm happy to oblige, and we're going to try to get that done today, okay? We're going to look at this in two parts. One, the way that I would record a sample to get it ready for that motif. We're going to look at my computer recording software. We're going to record some kind of small sample that I do live while we're shooting this video. And then we'll export that sample to a flash drive, and we'll take that flash drive over to my keyboard and we'll put it on the keyboard, okay? Let's get started. So in my process, what I would typically do is start in a recording software, typically called a digital audio workstation or a DAW. I would record the pieces that I need, put them into a package like a waveform, and put them into the keyboard from there. So I'm going to show you how I would do that with the recording software that I typically use for stuff like this. It's called Reason. It's been around for about 20 years. As a keyboard player, I have tons of sounds available to me that are on the keyboards, and I can pull from one and put it in another or things like that. But most of the time, if I need to put a sample onto a keyboard, it usually involves something that I either have to have voices for or some kind of weird eclectic or ethnic sound that I just simply don't have built into these keyboards. What I'm going to do is show you how I would do it for my voice in particular. We're going to do this in two separate ways because it is possible to do it in different ways. You can either add a sample for one specific sound that you would put in one specific spot on your keyboard, or you can create a layered effect where you can pick a sound that then you can spread out over the course of your keyboard and split it into different pitches and volumes and different timbres and everything like that. You can make the layers as absolutely crazy as you want them to be. But in the case of what I think I'm being asked for, and what I would typically use myself in a live scenario, is something that's more of like a single sample that's needed for a specific use within a live show. So what we're going to do is we're going to do two versions of this. We're going to start by doing a 3-part harmony that I'm going to record on this device right here, on this computer, and then I'm going to package that as one single file and then put it on there. I'm also going to take one of those voices and put it as its own file, and then I'll be able to spread that out over the entire keyboard and be able to make harmonies with my own voice just from using a single sample, okay? So let me show you how to do that. We're going to start with recording a 3-part harmony. So I'm just going to do a C chord, okay? So we're just going to do a C, E, G, and I'm just going to do it as an ah sound, okay? So we're arming the track to record. I am set up to have that particular channel of my voice, which is what this microphone is, going into this same channel. So we're going to record right now. Ah. So then when you get these samples, we're going to take these out, take those out, and then you've got this. Now, obviously, some of these sounds are a little bit higher than the others. So I'm just going to just pitch them down a little, or I'm just going to take the volume down on the other ones, and I'm going to make it so that the C is the highest volume note. Okay. Now, I could process this and make it sound a little bit more perfect, but I'm not trying to do that today. I'm simply trying to just get it made so that I can put it onto the keyboard. So we're going to do this in two ways. In this program, this is how I would do it. I would just set this up to export the from the looping, so the starting marker and the ending marker, which are right here. And I'm just going to go to File, Export Loop as Audio File, and it comes up with something like that. So I'm going to save it as a wave, and I'm just going to do it with 44,000 hertz and 16 bit. So it's nothing special in this case. It's just enough to make it work live. Okay. I'm also going to do another version where I only have just the original note that I did, and I'm just going to do that single note and export that as well. Okay. We're going to call that Ah1. Okay. So once you've made your files, and by the way, it does not have to be done in Reason. It does not have to be done on a Mac computer like I'm doing, and it does not have to be your vocals. It can be whatever you want it to be that you can record and save it as a WAV file. The things that you want to make sure to do is when you make it into a WAV file, you don't want to leave any blank space at the beginning of your sample. So you want to cut it so that it's right when the sample starts, okay? And then you want it to be a small enough sample that it will fit onto the size of the computer built into the Motif XF. And depending on how expanded you are on that keyboard, you might have more or less available. Next thing you want to do is you want to put all of that onto a little thumb drive using the ones that have the USB-A style for the Motifs. Some of them have different other kinds of connections, but the Yamaha Motifs and even this Modi X that I've got in front of me, they both use this style for this kind of thumb drive. So get something like this, put it onto this. What we're going to do now is take this back to the Motif XF, and we're going to specifically show you how to put these files onto the Motif XF and place them where you want them to be, because that's an important part of this equation. Okay, so let's go. So now that we're at the Motif, what we're going to do is we're going to first, by sticking this thumb drive into the back of the Motif, okay? It goes in the section that says to device. And once you plug it in, it should recognize it and it should pop up connecting to USB device. And then what I would suggest doing is, instead of, a lot of people would think to go to integrated sampling, what that is you are, when you use integrated sampling, you are actually just putting your own voice directly or your own sounds directly into a recording on the device. You're using the keyboard itself to do the recording as opposed to bringing a recording into the keyboard. So what I would suggest is using the File button, and then you want to look for the right kind of sound. So particularly what I would do is waves. And in my case, you should see it. There we go. There's Ah and Ah1, just like I made them. Okay. Now I could show you to load this right now, but I want to show you a mistake that I have personally made that I don't want you to make. Okay. So right now you see the files, they are available to be added onto the keyboard. But what you have to make sure to do is it also tells you what spot you're putting it in. So right now it's saying my pre-patch 1 full concert grand, which is a piano, and it's saying it's going to be element 1 in the key of at the key of C3, loading onto the user side. So what that would mean is that my piano sound would have all pianos, but I would be replacing the first element of that patch with my ah sound, and it would end up right in the middle of the keyboard on key C3. That's a problem, okay? So what you want to do is, before you load anything, so we get out of this file thing, you want to figure out where you want to put this and replace whatever is already there. Okay. A lot of the user banks are duplicates of things that exist elsewhere within the keyboard. So you can just pick a spot and go from there. So, like, for example, I don't typically use harpsichord sounds very often, that right here at number 14. So I might pick user 4, section A, and then I would pick number 14. And there I'm on a harpsichord right there. So right now, what you get is this kind of sound, right? Some of you might use this. I particularly don't. So this one's an easy one for me to replace because I won't need it. I probably will never use something like this with the kind of performing that I like to do. Okay, so now we can go back to the file and we'll go back to finding all the waves. And it looks like it does take the AIFFs as well, but I've always typically used waves. It's just a little bit easier to find those. It's a little bit easier to work with those, okay? But look for the wave forms. Now it says user 4, number 14, and it says harpsichord, which is where I want to put it. Now I can pick where I want that key to go. I want it to go in element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 different elements within this. So every patch tends to have 8 different elements that are available to you, which is like a section of the patch. It's like either when you hit it really softly or anything like that. So I've got it set to key C3 right now. And I'm going to, well, let's just do a test run. We're going to see, I'm not even on the right sound right now. I got to go to the right sound and I'm going to test it. So you hear that that's there. Let's try it again. Okay, now, if we go down one, you'll hear the other one that I recorded. See, it's the single. Okay, so if we do the one that's all 3, and I think that's the one I want to use. So I believe what you're supposed to do here is say load. And you load that into that particular spot that you have set for this. So yes, and it's loading. And now I should be able to press this same C3 and get the sound. Okay. So as of right now, nothing else is that sound except for C3. Now, by comparison, what you could do is take the other one that's a single note, right? And instead of loading it into a single location on the keyboard, you can go all the way over, and it says key all. So you can pick all the keys. I believe you can only pick one element, but you can do the keys of all. And then you can load it like that. And this should have loaded not only at C3, but then you should also have it everywhere. So now I kind of have my own version of. Now, that's kind of a crude version of all of this, but basically that's the concept of how it works. You can either load it into single locations on the keyboard, or you can load it into the entirety of the keyboard to make it a patch, essentially. So the better you are at recording and getting your elements ready the right way, the better this will sound. So I pointed out a little bit that I only uploaded that into one particular element of the entire patch. So that harpsichord patch that I was using was actually 8 different elements. There were 8 different pieces of that patch of sound in one single patch on the keyboard. Now, what you need to learn to do is, if you're going to be uploading samples onto that keyboard, or really any that are in that Yamaha structure, you need to understand that there will probably be other sounds still on that patch. Basically, what that means is when you add a sample to your keyboard, it's very likely that where you put that sample will still have other sounds with it. So you need to learn to either put that sample in multiple places, or you need to learn to turn off those other sounds. Load the sample into the patch the way you want it. Make sure that it is tweaked the way that you want it, both coming in, and you can also edit that with things like the cutoff. You can add reverb to your sample, things like that. And then make sure to save your patch, because if you don't save the patch, the next time you go to it, the sample will not be there, okay? Now, I hope this helped you make some sense out of adding samples to your keyboard. It's not as hard as it sounds, but it is a little bit cumbersome if you don't know the process. That brings up my original point that I wanted to make on this video is if you have a question, if you want to learn something about keyboards or performing or public speaking or getting gigs, we can talk about it on these videos, but I need to know what you want to hear. So again, click on that link that says the performer survey and fill out that survey for me. We'll try to get you some answers to some questions that you have specifically about performing. Okay. Thanks again for doing that. And if you do want to dive deeper into these kinds of topics, trust me, check out DannyRobertsonMusic.com. Not only do we talk about things like keyboards, but we also talk about the other parts of your performance that you're probably neglecting and you don't even realize it. I want to help you be a better performer. I want you to be a better onstage musician, a better onstage entertainer. I want to help you become the performer that you are meant to be, learning how to engage a crowd so that they do what you want them to do from the point of the stage. It makes your shows so much easier, so much more fun, and so much more entertaining for your audience. So let's get to work on this. Come check out Danny Robertson Music, okay? Other than that, I hope you have a great next performance. Hopefully, you can incorporate some samples into your keyboard, and we will see you soon. Take care.